What's up, nerds? Welcome to a new episode of Banter Blitz with me, Jan Gustafsson. The Dutchies are still here. Robin van Kampen is still in town. He's been recording most of the day, so we just kicked him out of the studio. And I just want to get in a little session of crushing you all before going on my undeserved holidays. I'll be gone for the next 2 weeks, playing the Thailand Open starting on April 10th. Looking forward to that one. Even though, I don't know, I've been talking a lot about chess, I've been playing a lot of blitz chess, haven't played tournament chess for a while, so I'm a little nervous, as I tend to be, and I hope it's gonna go well. I've been focused on the candidates, so I really haven't followed a lot of outside events. There's no fresh movies to talk about. I just heard that Five Dog from a Tribe Called Quest passed away. That's very sad news. That's one of my favorite groups as a kid. Goes to show how old I am. But you don't want to hear about any of this. You want to get crushed, and I shall oblige. If I have any challenges, that of course... Oh, I'm still playing Claudia. I should abort my test game against Claudia and then see if I do have any challenges. Looks like we got some. Excited. I'm not that excited. Let's not overdo it. Just a little excited. Whom do we play? You know the rules. Challenge me to a 3-minute game or a 5-minute game if you're a premium member. If you're not a premium member, become one and then challenge me. I can't play any non-premiums on this little program of ours. Let's just start. I want some strong opponents, strong players out there. Challenge me. I am looking for blood. Let's start with Edward Newgate. Hope I set this up right. Not quite. What's wrong here? Almost there. But we can't see Edgar's name yet. We'll add it, don't you worry. Don't you worry about a thing. See, I'm rusty. I haven't done the Banter Blitz thingy for a while, and it looks like good news is Edgar is rusty too. He gives us a moment to add his name to the screen. Edward Newgate, rated 1982. I shall crush him. My rating's been going up. I've been playing a bit without talking about it, and believe it or not, I seem to be stronger. Why does this keep disappearing? When I'm not telling you all my deep thoughts while playing. He goes 1 d4, which is an excellent move. I still don't know why his name doesn't stick around as it should. That is very confusing. So we're just gonna have to imagine it's Edward Newgate and maybe have his name pop up randomly every now and then. This is very confusing. Come on, Edgar, stay there with your name. He plays a Catalan, which is a good opening. I don't really know what to do about it. After knight f3, my main recommendation is this move bishop e7, and that's what I recorded a video series on. The problem is, frankly, it's quite solid for white. If he castles here, and then after d takes c4, plays one of the main moves, mainly queen to c2. I'm in a lot... not in a lot of trouble, but it's not easy for black to generate winning chances there, even though I've done the best I could in my video series. He goes knight e5, which is a very valid alternative. The fun move to play here is knight to c6, which looks ridiculous. You get triple pawns after all, but things are never as easy as they seem. And should white take this pawn, black gets a very active position after rook to b8. And surprisingly, white doesn't have an edge here, and therefore, instead of knight takes c6, the main move is actually bishop takes c6. He's going back to g2 with the bishop. I'm not familiar with that move. I would guess c5 equalizes here, but it looks a little more ambitious to exchange these bishops as quickly as I can. When after takes, I do not think that white has a very good position because he's missing his kingside bishop, which protects his king, and there is also the potential for me to very quickly get play in the center by going for c5, opening it up before white is fully developed. So it's a reasonably decent line for black to play. He goes knight c3, that's probably better than taking himself on b7. Still not worried. I'll take. Problem is, I guess the objectively best move is c5. I'm not sure how tempted I am to play that, because if he takes, the position gets sort of dullish. I'll still do it, and if he takes, then go queen to c7, leaving the queens on the board, hoping to cash in on the fact that b2 is a little loose. If he goes bishop f4, I, for example, have queen c6 check, followed by rook takes b2, which could cause some problems for him. That's his name again. This is an extremely confusing thingy, at least for me. He goes king g1 instead of bishop somewhere, which is probably once again a decent idea. I'm a little worried that he's equalizing here, but such is life, especially if you're black. Gotta keep going. Bishop takes c5 looks like the normal move, but then I'm not sure. If he goes bishop f4, I have to go e5, then bishop g5. Don't think I like it, so I'll play more aggressively. This looks a little strange at first sight, but my plan is to put the queen here and to checkmate him with knight to g4. Not quite sure if that's going to work out. If he goes bishop a7, then knight g4 looks very scary. If he takes the pawn, knight g4 and h4. I do not really believe that's the greatest of ideas, so he should probably play a move like f3, preventing knight g4. He goes h4. That's a serious weakening of the king. Can I go for some minor excitement by playing knight g4? I have a feeling I should be able to do that. Let's see what happens. If bishop a7, I'm tempted to play bishop h4. I haven't really seen it all the way through yet, but tempted I am. Gh4, queen h4, bishop b8, parries a mate on h2, just rook b8, and it looks like there's nothing he can do about it. He could go, let's say, bishop h4, first bishop b8, but then I just move my bishop somewhere, like f6 or e7. I'm not sure that's winning, though. I'm not sure you guys are following bishop h4, bishop b8, bishop somewhere, king to g2, and I can't see a checkmate. So I'm gonna have to be humble, not my forte, and move this rook out of the way. If he goes bishop e3, then once again I'll have a long hard think and probably lose on time in the process while trying to figure out if I can take on h4 or not. Or I could just take and then think. That's normally more tempting. Still fighting to get Edward on screen here. I don't want him on the scoreboard. I want him to get crushed, but I want his name to be seen. So after I crushed him, I can tell everybody I beat Edgar in a game of chess. He goes king g2, doesn't want to get checkmated. That's very disappointing. So I'll take here. Now for something completely different. Nah, same thing. Good news is now material is equal if I count it correctly, but I do have the much better pawn structure, so I should be in pretty decent shape here. The bad news is I haven't managed to checkmate him, which I really wanted to do. It's very upsetting when you can't checkmate your opponent, even though you really, really wanted to. Oh, he's trying to checkmate me. I should probably not allow that either. Edgar's playing well. As we all know, I really dislike it if you guys play well. I want you to be starstruck by playing a Grandmaster, spending all your time thinking, and if you don't lose on time, then at least get a good position and panic because you have a good position against a Grandmaster and blunder something in one move. That's sort of the scenarios I can more or less accept. If you allow me to go for a mating attack, I'll also live with that. But playing well, like not allowing me to mate you, hanging in there, it's not very welcome on this show, let's be frank here. Not Frank Underwood, but still Frank. So back to the position. He's thinking about knight e4, then I am planning to pin him with queen d5. Rook f6 looks a little scary, but after gf6 I don't really see a way forward. So hopefully nothing too bad is happening to me here. There's also some ideas with rook b2, but I gotta be very careful that all these pins and counter pins, no, it's not really pins, that the geometry in this position works for me. And frankly, I don't know much about geometry or biology or anything. Catalan theory, that I do know about. At least I'm ahead on the clock now. And objectively, I should also be in good shape. He's trying his best to ask tricky questions, but I have tricky answers, like f5. Getting out of this sideway pin, which he instilled on me. He should go knight to c3 when I probably should just move my queen away. Not sure where. Here maybe? Still hanging around. I'm better, but the game ain't over yet. The rook has to go to f3 when b2 is now protected, so I might change directions and go rook d7, intending to put it on d2. But then he has queen a4, which I'm not sure how much I would like to see that. Nah, I'll just win on time. As usual. Nothing new under the sun. Rook f5, what's going on here? Give me that. If you sacrifice a rook, I won't even think for a second. I'll just take. And that's a promise for all upcoming games. If you give me your queen, it shall be taken, no questions asked. No hard feelings, no questions asked. Just good old queen taking. And Edward Newgate resigns was a good game, but he panicked a little here with rook f5. If he goes rook f3, the game would have continued. Let me check in with the chatters. What's going on here? It seems like at least people can see me, hear me. Probably blinded by my checkered shirt. I blame Vishy Anand for that shirt. I saw him wearing it a lot in tournaments. Like, not this very shirt, but this white blue shirt. And I thought I need one of those. So I went out and bought one. But it can be a little hypnotizing. Whom do we play? That's also a big question. What about Gimli X? Not sure if that's Gimli the Dwarf, the X-rated version, or what the name implies, but I shall play him. I'm sorry, this always looks weird. Here we are. I'll go e4. Why not e4? I've been looking at a lot of e4s, mainly Berlins and anti-Berlins, frankly, but I have a feeling I would be a better chess player if I could play e4 on a more consistent basis. I'm normally limited to varying between one d4 and one knight f3 with the occasional c4, but it would be nice to be able to go for a bit more e4. I mainly struggle against Sicilians because I don't have touch there, but I have high hopes on Robin's new video series. Robin van Kampen is here recording video series against the Sicilian. He's more or less done with the first part, knight c6, bishop b5, that I can learn something from him. So Gimli X plays a very topical line here, this stuff with b5, bishop c5. I don't think it has a proper name, but I've played it quite a bit myself. a4, rook b8, and c3 is the main move. d6, d4, bishop b6 with a very complicated position. So let's go for it. The main lines after bishop b6 are a takes b and then knight a3, and white grabs his pawn on b5, but black gets a lot of counterplay on the king side. So it's a very messy line, which, yeah, I've studied quite a bit back in the day. And I still know a thing or two about. Some people argue that you should start with knight a3 in order not to allow bishop a6 in this position. Those people are probably right, but bishop a6 is not such a pretty move to make for black. It's standing slightly awkwardly on that diagonal. I'll just go rook e1, take it from there and say, haha, your bishop is misplaced. So the main move here is bishop to g4 or castles, knight takes, followed by bishop takes to g4. b4 looks logical because it's saving the pawn, but I believe people don't do this because it gives me a very juicy square for my knight on c4. Now black has some problems. e5 might be under attack, bishop a4 might be in the air. After knight takes e4 I'm gonna have to think, but I have a feeling there is a direct refutation to that, which I have a feeling I won't find, but that doesn't change the fact that it should be there. So black should be in trouble here, but I'm still trying to figure out what's happening after knight takes e4. He takes on c3 first. I can do many things, but I'll just take here. And once again, worry about knight takes e4 should it appear on the board. The problem is normally knight e4 runs into some knight takes b6 followed by bishop to d5, attacking both knights, but here it would be covered by the rook, so I couldn't quite spot a refutation. While after castles, hang on. If I take on e5, he recaptures. Looks promising. I'm gonna get some bishop a3 with tempo. f7 could be a little soft, so this looks good. My point is, if he takes with the rook, then I have probably this knight. Oh, I blundered. I'll inform you of my blunder in a minute. I was gonna say I have this knight taking on e5, and here I'm hitting f7, so I'm in great shape, but I did blunder bishop takes f2, which is very unfortunate, because now the best laid plan of mine did not materialize at all, and I'm no longer better. I just missed this bishop f2, which I really shouldn't have. What are you gonna do? Gotta continue playing. I'll go bishop g5, pin this guy, but now the position feels equal. If he takes on c3, bishop f6, gf, rook f6, and something. Bishop e6. Yeah, I'm not better there at all. Unfortunately. Not sure if he has anything better than that, but that looks fairly logical. I'm gonna have to grind it out from here. Yeah, some discussion about my rating in the chat. Unfortunately, online ratings are not really comparable to real life ratings, but I've been on a bit of a mission of getting my Chess24 rating up. Turns out I play better when I'm not talking at the same time. Who would have thought? Bishop e6 is another good move. Not sure if I can do anything clever like knight to c6, but then just rook e8, and I'm not sure I've achieved anything. I'll still do it just to create more confusion along the black ranks. But yeah, I don't believe I have an objective advantage here at all. Rook e8 looks like the right move, keeping an eye on the back rank. Now I have to get rid of this knight because it was threatening to take here. After gf, I'm not sure what to do. Rook c1 looks awfully passive, but I can't see anything better. I gotta keep this pawn alive. I want to go knight d4, and if I catch a breather, take on f6. So far, yeah, ever since I missed this bishop f2, I've been, I don't know, scrambling to not so much stay in the game, but keep any chances. Frankly, I don't like my chances all that much here. Rook b8 back. Gimli X is also playing very well, which, as I might have mentioned once or 20 times before, I don't enjoy if you do that. Not one bit. Rook f6 was equalizing, but I kind of still want to keep a little more tension in the position. However, he's making all the right moves. Not much to do. c5, knight f5. If he takes, rook takes, should still be equal, because normally the second rank is too weak in such positions to win it. But I'll happily take the pawn and see what's going on. Thing is, you don't want your rooks to stay passive in a rook endgame like that, so my vision... how do I do it though? I'll get to my vision in a second. For now, I'll shuffle my rooks around. What he should do is exchange pawns. I was playing rook f4, but then he can go f5, and he should go f5, because the more material disappears from the board, the easier the black defense will be. He didn't do that, so now I have some hopes again, because his rooks for now are kind of passive. And yeah, if he does this, I'll pick up a bunch of pawns, which is good news, because 2 pawns up is normally winning. Not sure if it's time to cash in already. Start with h3 and then closely monitor the rook f6 check situation. Pre-move. He wasn't impressed with my pre-move. And who can blame him? Still, this position is winning if I take some care. 2 pawns are enough. But will I take some care? That's a very open question. I think I'll take enough care. And G and H, even though G and H is a more clumsy process, it takes a little longer than, let's say, 2 connected pawns in the center. It's still a reasonably straightforward win. So you can now witness my expert grandmasterly technique of trying to win this position, probably on time. Anyway, you want to advance these pawns while getting your king involved and not allowing any craziness. I'm not sure that's a great description, but I'll slowly move forward with all my pieces in sync. Gimli X did resign. Very good game by Gimli X. Put up a lot of resistance, especially, yeah, since I was feeling smart about what I was doing, but I just missed this bishop f2 trick, followed by rook b3, and the position was quite equal. Good game. There's a question, how can I challenge Jan? I believe my name should be under the video. You can hover over the little GM Jan thingy and there click on challenge. Then the challenge will appear in my list of challenges. Speaking of my list of challenges, do we have anybody else? Let's play against Paparappa. Here's Paparappa from Germany. What does Paparappa stand for? Does it mean the Pope is a rapper? Is that what you're implying? Or maybe he's the dad of Richard Rapport, Paparappa. He goes for a very normal opening, d4, knight f3, c4. I'm going to stick to, I wish I had guns, I'm going to stick to the stuff where I know the first moves. I'll go for the semi-Slav. I did this video series on the Vienna, which I still think is fine. But I have a feeling a lot of you premium guys have watched it, as you should, and so I'm running into my own analysis a lot, which is an unpleasant thing. So we do have the good old semi-Slav. He goes for bishop d3, the Maran, the main move. Also my favorite choice with white, even though a lot of people prefer queen c2. I like this. Here you have a choice between bishop b7 and a6 and bishop d6, all playable. Bishop b7 is sort of the most modern way to treat the position. Now white should go e4, c5, d5, and it's a mess, where objectively I believe black is doing fine, but it's some very complicated positions. I can never remember all the details there, but I do have long analysis files, which I'm probably not allowed to use during Banter Blitz. An alternative to play is like the move a4. a3 is very calm. After a3, c5, okay, he's playing passively. Now we'll probably take on c5 sooner or later and try to equalize some almost symmetrical position. In general, a3 is a good idea if black is not ready to go c5 yet, and you can go b4. But after c5, yeah, black has zero problems. The only question is going to be if I can create enough tension to punish Paparappa. Goes queen e2, fair enough. There's many options here. I'll go here. If dc5, I'm going to recapture with a knight just to hit his bishop and annoy him a little further. Typically white wants to go for e4 here, but after queen b6 he can't do it because I just take on d4. So yeah, the opening has not been a success, but with white you have some margin for error. So if he takes on c5 and goes bishop c2 here, I'm not going to claim I'm winning or anything. Also, you could make a case for dc actually playing bishop c5. I don't really want to allow him to go b4 with tempo and bishop b2. But that could be a decent solution because frankly my knight on c5 is not doing that much. He goes rook d1, fair enough. I'll also develop something. Why not develop something once in a while? There's alternatives. I could have taken on d4. I feel there's nothing wrong with this. Now maybe he can think about e4, cd, knight d4, queen d4, and then some bishop takes b5 or something. But it doesn't look threatening. He plays bishop c2. Not sure what he's up to. He probably wants to take on c5 next. So maybe I should take here now. e4 doesn't really scare me. His pieces aren't that active and I'm quite well developed, so an isolated pawn situation should be quite okay for me. And here I also have the feeling that I'm had enough in development that he's not in time to do anything tricky with a quick e4. Well, if you play passively with white here, you can run into trouble very quickly. Exposit A is knight coming to c4, asking questions. Exhibit A, I should have said, but I didn't. Mr. Paparappa. Yeah, this is unpleasant. Bishop d3 is logical way trying to deal with it. But of course, I can take this bishop at will, which is nice. And I also don't have to hurry about it. I'll just play rook d8 first. And I can always take or go knight to c4. The question is what to do next. I have a feeling I should get rid of this bishop. I just like bishops too much. They're very juicy pieces because they're so long range. Look at these guys. They can go very far in life. While knight might jump around a little bit, but in the end, it's a short-range warrior. Looks like Paparappa was so shocked by me taking that bishop that he immediately disconnected, and who can blame him? I hope he comes back so we can finish this game fairly. I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do after rook takes d3, which is the move I'm expecting. I was tempted by trying to shuffle my other knight towards the c4 square. Knight d7, knight e5, knight c4. I was also tempted by going bishop a8 with the cheap idea of going bishop queen b7 followed by queen takes g2 checkmate. But it looks like no, sorry, Paparappa didn't come back in time. Sorry about that. Not sure what went wrong there. But what are you gonna do? I won because of disconnection, which is a bit of a pity. Sorry, Paparappa. Next. Let's play D-Tom 78. I'm always guessing if there's a number like this that it is the year of birth, but you can never be sure. He goes knight f3. What do I do? Let's honor all our Spanish friends who enjoy playing the Leningrad Dutch, which in my opinion is a bad opening. Because just look at the move. You're weakening your king on the very first move. The one thing that can be said about it is it leads to some unbalanced positions. Bad positions, but unbalanced, so in order to fight for a win, it can sometimes make some sense. That's as far as I'm going to go in my praise for the Leningrad Dutch. D-Tom plays very sensibly, not the most aggressive setup. Normally they go for putting the bishop on g2 against the Dutch, but there's nothing wrong with the way he's playing. As for me, after knight c3, I'll have a bit of a decision how to proceed. In general, with black, you want to prepare e5. Can't do it just yet. And the problem is, if you prepare with some obvious preparatory move like queen e8, the move I played, white normally goes d5, making it much harder to get in this position you're dreaming of, where you push the pawn to e5, and you get some sort of King's Indian, where your pawn is already on f5. He plays rook b1, allowing me to do this though. Still not sure I should be excited, like after de, white sometimes has some ideas with knight d5, but I believe as a wannabe Dutch player, I should be happy here. Answer knight d5 with knight a6 and take it from there. Knight g5, what's that about? Go away. Looks like he has to go away, so knight g5 was a bit of a loss of time, which means my position should be fine now. Question is what to do next. I'm tempted to grab as much space as I can with e4, then I would go to d4, then something like c5, but the knight can jump here, which I don't really want. So I'll just play normal quote-unquote go c6 to control this d5 square and then develop some pieces. b4 is logical given the circumstances, and I'll just bring this knight out, intending to go e4 and put the knight on e5. He should go b5, trying to open play on the queen side, and he does, and also to develop his bishop to a3 with tempo. So yeah, he's lost to tempi, which wasn't ideal, 1.5, because h6 doesn't help me all that much, but he's played well since. I still believe that black, yeah, with these two extra moves, has to have a good position here. Bishop a3 looks nice, but my rook finds very useful work along the d file after rook f7. I want to go bishop e6, rook d7, and so on and so forth. And enjoy myself. Here it's important to recapture with a pawn. Knight takes might look more natural, but you really don't want to give up these two squares, d5 and b5. So gotta take with a pawn to keep them all in check. Not literally. Queen c2, I'll go here, just ask some questions about Caesar the c-pawn. You should probably go knight a4, intending to jump into c5. When I'm not sure what I'm going to do. Probably just knight ft7, covering this square. Problem for white is also his pieces are a little awkward. Goes queen b3. I was going to say these pieces are a little awkward, and maybe that's why he's moving his queen, preparing knight to c2. I have many tempting options, but true to my boring colors, I'll just maneuver this knight around anyway, intending to go knight b6 to target this pawn. Or... no, that's pretty much the only idea. Or rook b8, I was going to say. Rook b8 doesn't look that dumb either. And if a move does not look that dumb, that's good enough for me. I shall play it. Point is, if he goes queen a4, I'm going to go knight b6 with tempo. At least that was my deep thought process, hitting the queen and hitting the c4 pawn. Also on this diagonal, potentially something could happen. What's going on in the chat? Not b takes c6, not a 2400 plus move. I believe most players would play that. But most 2400 plus players would also play it, so yeah. Most weaker players would play it too, I believe. Queen a5, now I can take here, which looks like his position should be falling apart because there's too many loose ends. This guy, her. Yeah, it's going to be very hard to keep everything covered. Pre-move. Queen b4 is the only move that doesn't lose material instantly, when I thought I could just go rook b7. Rook b1 does lose material instantly because I can take it. I could do other things, but in general, I rarely pass up an option to go for an endgame, a rook up. My favorite rook endings. Yeah, now the material balance is really in my favor. That little tactical skirmish has not worked out well for dtom78 from Sweden, where I am not from, opposed to contrary popular belief. My name is Gustafsson, but I am German. 1/16 Swedish, I believe. I get Swedish. I always get it wrong, and my mom gets upset at me. Swedish great-grandmother, I think. But I feel... Oh my god. Herv M, FIDE Master. Low rated for a FIDE Master. I'll still stick to e4 and my ambitious new plan of becoming an e4 player. He goes c5. Yeah, this has been sort of my kryptonite, because open Sicilians are hard to master at an advanced age. It's a bit like learning a new language. And yeah, I've been trying to learn Dutch. Not happening. Still, this is the topic of Mr. Van Kempen's new video series. So to honor him, I'm gonna play this. Series is not out yet, but keep an eye out for it. It should be there soon. B takes c6 is a more ambitious move than d takes c6. Gotta admit, I'm not very booked up here. Knight h6 is, yeah, weird plan intending to go f6, knight f7, or c3, d5. I believe some of the Chinese guys have been experimenting with an early d5, like takes, d5 here, which is certainly interesting. Let's see which way Herv goes. Yeah, he goes d5, and I gotta admit, I don't really have a clue what to do. Knight c3 strikes me as a logical move. That's the problem. I'm really not into details in these e4 openings yet. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to go e5, which maybe I was supposed to go, or do this. But here, knight f5, I don't really like my position. Bishop g4, same thing. Don't really like my position. Yeah, I got a long way to go as an e4 player. But what are you gonna do? Gotta live with what's on the board. That's not very appealing. Actually, it's quite bad. Is there any way I can get out of here with minimal losses? Problem is my d4 pawn is just too weak. No, everything's bad, so I gotta go for one of the bad lines, and hopefully for the trickiest one. Don't even see a tricky one. Bishop e3 is just horribly passive. He goes knight f5. I have very little to show for it. Nah, might as well shed this pawn immediately. See what happens. Well, you can just take and go knight f5, and I'll be a pawn down for pretty much nothing. Sad but true. Of course he does. Who wouldn't? Bishop e3 or bishop g5? Both look bad. I'll go here. And yeah, he can take on d4, both with a bishop or with a knight. He should take with a knight, I believe, because if bishop takes, at least I have rook d1, and I can pretend to go for some pins. But yeah, knight takes, then very little to show for my investment. If bishop takes, probably queen takes, and b2 is also hanging. It's just bad, really. Just a bad position. But what to do? Queen takes. Unfortunately, I gotta take another timeout to cover poor Mr. b2. This is not gonna end well. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna have to mobilize my inner kayaking here and try to hang in a pretty horrible position. Not my forte. I like to have good positions, but can't always get what you want. Queen d5, fair enough. What do I want? Guess I'm gonna have to go b3 sooner or later, just to keep my queen side alive for now. You can go f5, but then knight g5 at least. I have some squares for my horsey. Problem is, it's very hard to generate tricks even, which is, of course, all I think about. I'll get out of the way and at least hint at some rook c5 ideas or rook d2 ideas. Nothing that causes him any troubles, but still in it. Let's see what Herv does. I'd probably be tempted to throw in h6 at some point, because that would make like pushing these pawns with f5, e5 a lot stronger, since after f5 I still have knight g5 and my knight gets access to some nice hunting grounds. Rook b4 is a good move as well. Can I go rook c5, queen d1 check, king h2? Doesn't look great, but then again nothing else does either. So I might as well go for this and hope things at least get complicated. I don't see a direct way to win for him, which is all I can ask for. He doesn't have to give the check, but it looks very tempting to do it. Yeah, I would have done the same thing. And, there is a direct way to win. Rook takes e4 and queen d6 check. Could have spotted that, but I didn't. Oh boy. Do I have any tricks left? Anything left in the tank? After rook e4? Don't really see it. Promise queen e4, queen d6, rook e5, f6. And I have one spy check with queen c4. But that is all there is. He didn't spot that. He went rook d8, which... The good news is I don't have to resign immediately. The bad news is I'm still in trouble. In spite of all my... I was going to say valid efforts, but I can't keep a straight face. So how do we confuse him? Knight g5. Let's go. Queen d6. g3, queen c5. Nah, it doesn't lead anywhere. Still pretty terrible, unfortunately. End game. Oh, no, don't pre-move that. That was another blunder. See, I'm really no kayaking. My resilience levels are close. My resistance levels, once again, to a bit of trouble, are very, very close to zero. Now he does it. What is this about? Now it doesn't work, does it? Confusing. Or I hope it doesn't work. But I thought now I can take here and then go rook e4 and be an exchange up. Bad news is my position is still not really winning, but of course it has improved like 8,000% roughly compared to where we left off. Probably what happened to Herve is he saw that trick which I had pointed out a move earlier. The minute he played rook d8 and then he wanted to make it work on the next move, but it was too late. That sometimes happens. Okay, I was granted a second lifeline. I should honor it. I have a feeling I'm not. I'm making clumsy moves again. Bishop d4, I have to go rook e2. Looks a bit shaky, but seems to work. c5, he's trying to be tricky, but you can't trick a trickster. Or can you? Now play it safe. Let's play it safe. Let's not get too greedy. That was dangerously close. Now I like my chances because I'm up on the clock and up on the pawn count, which is both good news, even though, I think it's fairly winning too. I have this passed a pawn, which is going to be a big factor down the stretch. But yeah, that was not a very successful game. Okay, time for Ali the a-pawn to join the race. Ali's gonna be very hard to stop. And so is the clock, so Herve M lost on time here. Lucky win for me. I bungled the opening where, probably knight c3 is just a bad move and you gotta go e5 here. When I was in trouble, and then I blundered something else. Here rook c5, queen d1, king h2. He could just have taken here. And if I go rook e4, queen d6, check wins, and queen e4 does not help me either because of this check, rook e5 and f6. And I'm pinned, queen c4, check, king h8 does not change that, so that I would have won on the spot. Very, very lucky Jan. Let's find someone else to get unlucky. Mr. Eternam. Now, a French guy. Yeah, I do have the most Swedish name ever because it's a Swedish name. Might be one of the most popular Swedish surnames, right? Gustafsson. At one point, the Swedish national hockey team had like a whole offensive line that was called Gustafsson. I don't speak Swedish. I haven't been there much. So, can't deny my Germanness. I'm not in the mood for another Catalan against Eternam, so after g3 I went c5. When the main moves are d5 and knight f3, he's played e3. Normally that doesn't harmonize so well with an early g3. d5, knight c3. I'll just develop. Because you can see there's some light square weaknesses. Now I'll take this pawn. And e3 just doesn't fit in very well with the overall white scheme. If the knight was on f3, we'd have a theoretical Catalan position, but with the pawn on e3, it looks like the going is a little tougher here for white. Knight e2, I have many options. I'll be my greedy self, take here, and try to hang on to the c4 pawn. Not sure how he should recapture. Knight takes, so pawn takes, bishop c6 I do not approve of, because I do like bishops. Gotta keep those bishops, Eternam. By the way, apologies for my mispronunciation of every French name out there. I've had like 5 years of French in school, but I wasn't very good at it. I can read French more or less because I speak Spanish and the words are similar, but pronunciation I haven't really picked up. It's tough. I'm sure that's what people say about German as well. For me, my French is sadly quite bad. Je ne peux pas parler. I decided to keep queens on the board because I had the feeling long term, or even short term, his king might get a little weak. Get some pieces out, and very quickly, very soon, I shall move to one-move threats like Queen c6 threatening checkmate. It is not the most sophisticated of moves though. Now I'll wait for an invitation. I'm expecting him to go a5 and then I'll pretend, oh, you attacked my queen. I had to get out of the way. I had to go Queen c6. And it's a lot more deceptive than I'm planning to go Queen g2 checkmate. Still believe h9 is going to spot it, but I felt this was deeper. Very deep chess. He goes f3. Promise if I go a6, he can go knight a3 and try to capture on c4, which I don't really want to happen. But he could also take my a7 pawn if I don't do anything about it. So I might have been a little inaccurate here, and I'll keep my a pawn just to make sure he doesn't get a passed pawn. But after knight a3, white is sort of back in the game. I should be better because of my bishops and all that good stuff. But I can't hang on to the c4 pawn, at least as far as I can see. Therefore, the battle continues. Good job by Eternam getting his pawn back. Often a topic in all kinds of Catalanish positions. And he ruins all the hard work he's just done by giving the pawn away instantly. You can't give me pawns, Eternam. I take them. Knight a4. There's Bogus Aurelius. If memory serves me well, I still owe Bogus Aurelius a game because at some point I promised I would play him next. Then, as I tend to, I forgot the second I said it. So if Bogus Aurelius challenges me and I can remember in like 2 minutes, then I shall play him. Maybe I already have done that because I've felt bad about it for so long. Can't remember that. But I'll play him. Anyway, now I'm a pawn up. I guess you should play e4 just to block this diagonal a little further and clear the e3 square for his bishop. He's played bishop d2, which is also sensible. What should I do? Double rooks here? I don't know what to do. Could also be more aggressive and go for some f5, g5s. But nah. I'll keep it simple, try to double the rooks on the d file, I believe is what we call it. Here we are. He can kick me off the d file by going bishop a5, but I hope he won't, because that would be a little rude. Now he goes e4. All very sensible stuff. I'll try to maintain my rooks here. This is a little tricky or a little risky because he can chase me around with bishop a5, and I'm not quite sure the d file is long enough to accommodate all my rooks, but I thought it might be. Rook d4, if bishop c3 back, I'll go rook d7, and there's no longer bishop a5 with tempo. While if you play something slow, then my initiative will very quickly grow, like c4, f5. Rook takes e4 trickery. Things will get ugly. b3. What did I do? Maybe it's time. It is time. And yeah, only premium members can play. But there I tried not to... to choose quite randomly among the preemsters. Bishop c3, rook d7. Knight b2. Hanging in there. Eternam is playing well. What do? I could take on e4. I don't really want to. I could take on c3 too. I want that a little more. Not sure if it's good. But it looks like my bishops are getting a lot of activity here, which I like. Because I like bishops and I want to treat them well. But I missed e5, which is sort of sad. That's actually kind of embarrassing. I was thinking about some... Never mind, I was thinking about some lines with fe, bishop f6, then I saw, oh no, he can go rook f6 maybe, so I should start with bishop f6, and I just missed this. Now I'm in exchange down. I still have compensation, but that really wasn't the plan at all. Oh man. Not really stellar play today from yours truly yet. Now I gotta be careful to at least leave my bishop pair alive, because that's the source of my compensation here. If I allowed knight a5, knight takes b7, I could end up being seriously worse. Well, here I have a pawn and the two bishops against a rook and a knight. It's not really that bad, but still, it wasn't the plan whatsoever. And I am a little worse, I believe, because my dark square bishop is kind of passive. Can play moves like queen a5, king f2 is also fine. I don't know what to do. I'll just randomly advance pawns, pretending to try to scare him. Not even sure if that's a valid sentence at all. Rook d1, he's playing very sensibly actually. Can't say the same thing about myself. I'm just pushing pawns up the board. Another game where I'm in trouble. Every other game I run into trouble. I want to bring my king to g6, and I just felt I shouldn't allow knight d6 with check, even though he can still very much go knight d6 when I'm not happy, but then I'd probably keep my bishop on the board and hope for the best with some bishop d5 or something. But that looks like a strong move. Knight d6, bishop d5, queen c5. Knight a5 you can also play, but the knight is a little out of play on a5, so knight d6 looked better. Yeah, he goes back there. I'm concluding my king's trip. I blundered knight b6, picking up the bishop. I'm blundering a lot of things in this game. h4 also a decent move, but no threats as far as I can see. What do I do though? I don't know. Trying to get back to this diagonal to at least give a check. h4 is also in the air. Now I should actually have play, and the clock is ticking. Actually, it stopped ticking now, but good game by Eternam and some very careless blundering by me. Frankly, that shouldn't be happening. Here after knight b2, I thought rook c3 you could make a case for, even though it wasn't very necessary. Rook e3 should be fine. Not sure it should be. But anyway, here I was hoping to blow position open, and of course I should have started with this one. After f8 I have queen takes e4. Well, after f4 I have e3, and I'm in very good shape, but I just blundered bishop f6, e5, and ever since I've probably been worse. So yeah, another lucky win. Those are my favorites. Let's generate one more of those. But against whom? Maybe RWC 94? Almost 2400. My last e4 outing didn't go very well, so let's go back to the e-pawn's brother, the d-pawn. And go for this. I don't know what he wants. Let's play f3. Not a line I play often. I've recently seen it played in the candidates by Giri against Caruana. And yeah, the idea is, if black is a Grunfeld player like RWC seems to be, then there is no knight after e4 to be exchanged on c3, therefore the black knight has to go back. In return, white has played f3, which is not the prettiest side either. But, long story short, all of this stuff is very much theory, and I wish I could remember any of it. King b1 is not the only move. I once had a game king b1, rook d8, knight b5, and I thought I was being clever about this. Now I can't really think of my thought process. Think of my thought process. I should think of my word process. I guess my point was d5 here. When he can go a6, I believe a6, there is some line with dc6, queen d2, where white wins a pawn, but black is very active. So that's not that exciting. But after a6, I can move my knight somewhere to either c3 or a3. And I believe I should go to c3. Could be that this is my game. Knight a6, knight c3, knight a5. And then I did something dumb. But maybe I'll do better this time. Probably not. Probably I'll do something dumb again. Yeah, I have a feeling I've played something like this. a6, knight c3, knight a5, bishop d4, which was certainly dumb. So can I do better? That's the big question. Can go here, which looks a bit ridiculous. But why not? Gotta try something new once in a while. I'm sure all of this is heavy theory, and I have a feeling knight c3 is a theoretical move. But I just felt like experimenting. This is ridiculous in many ways, but it does cover the c4 square, which is pretty much the only idea behind this move. The problem is, of course, the knight is a little far away from the center of the board. And black should play knight e5 when I'm still thinking what I want to do. If I want to go bishop d4, intending to go for some f4 push, or if I want to pretend I'm a brilliant attacking player and go h4 followed by h5. But I don't think that's really in my style. I also don't trust it. Knight e5, h4, e6, and it feels like the center is opening a little too quickly for comfort. Probably RWC is way more familiar than I am with all this stuff. Queen e8, interesting move. I'm greedy. This is probably not very much in the spirit of the line, but I just can't fight my own greed. Not just in chess, in all areas, all walks of life. I'm tempted to take this pawn, which is probably madness, since it's sort of on the queen side and I should be acting on the king side. Can't get out of my skin. Knight a4. Whoa, action. He wants to take here. And that is a very valid idea, which of course I missed. Knight c4, I guess b5, and the back and forth continues. Rook d2 looks like a very weird move, and I really haven't developed anything in the last 18 moves, which is a little worrying. But what you gonna do? Very strange position. I have a feeling I'm probably in trouble, but it's still a total mess, which makes it quite hard to navigate for both sides. Where should this knight go? Knight e5? One thing I don't think he should do is take on b2. I'll just take twice, and then my pieces will be more valuable than his pieces. Knight b4, also a good move. I'm always tempted to go bishop d4 here. It should be met with e5. I might still do it. He also has bishop h6 pinning. Ugh, it's very complicated. Or I could just go for the show me the money approach, which is the nuttier way to play. But I might have mentioned this 10 seconds ago. I am very greedy. Not always helpful. Wouldn't be too surprised if there's some way to generate a mating attack for him. But pawn is a pawn, even though this is not a pawn you really want, if we're being completely honest. I was hoping I could go queen a5 next, try to embarrass this knight on b4. Not so sure. Honestly, I don't think this should end well for me objectively. But the good news is, it's a blitz game. RWC is trying to be clever, while I'm just trying to flag him, so I do have the advantage on that front. Knight d5, he keeps fueling the flames, and yeah, I know that's probably not the expression, but I like choosing my expressions randomly. It's probably a very good move too. If ed bishop f5 check, and his initiative really is catching some speed. Not sure I have anything better though. Rook d5, ed bishop f5 is even worse. Now I gotta take. Now at least try to develop one or two pieces. But yeah, it looks like RWC has played well and might very well checkmate me, punish me for all this excessive greed displayed. Then again, he kind of has to. I'm a piece up and I'll keep taking whatever he feeds me. Looks like we're done feeding, yeah? Where can I go? b7 looks a little excessive even for me. I'll go here. Yeah, this should not end well. But sometimes one gets lucky. Rook d2, bishop c3 I don't particularly enjoy. I don't enjoy anything particularly here. But I'll keep making moves. Good news is this knight, even though it looks ridiculous, at least it's covering this square. So now, what's going on? I've lost count, but I think I'm still a piece up and I'm still not checkmated. So there's two good news for me right there. Still gotta be careful, but I have a feeling the first wave has sort of been survived. Might have to give him that pawn with a heavy heart. ed5. Didn't see that one coming. Interesting decision. Probably good decision, like opening this queen up. Okay. Time to retreat. Back to square one. Square two, actually. d2. Rook c8. All right. I'll take on b7, but that's probably a little excessive. Gotta take here, though. Also feels wrong. But time is also running low, so I should be very careful not to get checkmated in one move, especially on this square or this square. I have a feeling those are the mating squares I should keep an eye out for. But as long as that does not happen, I shall brag about my extra piece, and I shall capture things. Looks like this is gonna be a win for team grabbing material, because now, yeah, he's running low on time, and he's running out of threats. Very interesting game. I don't have the slightest clue what happened here. I have a feeling I was pushing my luck a little bit with my opening play, going after this pawn. It was a mess. What are you gonna do? Play another game. That's what I'm gonna do. I'll play Mr. Bogus. And I'll give 1e4 another shot, even though it hasn't worked well so far in this show. A lot to learn. Yeah, fanning the flames. I reserve the right to make up my own flames expressions. Adding fuel to the fire, fuel to the flames, fire to the flames. Bogus, you're not there? If you're not there, I do not care. That's not true. I'd be very sad, but it's still a board. I'm gonna count till 5. 5, 4, 3. There he goes and plays the Alekhine. I shall play this line, which people on the internet play 100% of the time, it seems like to me. I have a lot of experience here because I always pre-move one knight f6 in bullet, and then I end up here. I don't know theory though. I've just played this position like 1,000 times. And I always go bishop e7, knight c6, short castle, and hope for the best. But that is the extent of my knowledge. What do I do? b3? Honestly, no clue. I guess black should go d5 at some point, asking me to play c5, sort of clarifying the structure. Bishop g4 is legit too. Looks like there's no threat. Not sure if I'm supposed to go f3. I don't really like weakening this bishop's position here, but I also didn't like any other moves. Rook e8, fair enough. Knight e4 maybe. Or queen d2 first. Nah, I'll go here first. Really insisting on going after that bishop, Mr. Bogus. But I think that might have been a bit of a bogus plan, because now after knight e4, my bishop is quite safely covered, and I can grab the two bishops at the very least whenever I feel like it. Still, nothing to brag about just yet. He should go d5 still. When the situation becomes tenser, he does. Playing well. Have to take. If I have to go c5, then actually black has sort of won the opening battle, because I'm stuck with a very mediocre bishop on e3. Well, his knights are doing quite alright in such a position. So yeah, not tempted. Looks like Bogus is a big Alekhine expert, while yeah, my 1e4 expertise is regrettably still not really up to the task. Up to any task, really. What to do though? I guess I'm going to have to take here and chip away. Ideally, not blunder something on the e-file. But this position is perfectly fine for black, probably equal, because my bishop really is not all that active. I might have to transfer it to g3 or f4 down the stretch, or immediately, to at least get a bit of work. But still, it's no big deal, even rook c8 here. C8, can I go knight b5? My pawn hunting instincts are once again taking over. Any problems with that? Nah, looks okay. Not quite sure this knight has an exit strategy after a6, knight c7, rook anywhere. But it looks like it's hard to pick up too. Here we go. Now I want to go here, because this rook on e7 is making me nervous. And I don't like being nervous. I want that rook, which doesn't have anywhere to go. The problem is this knight might not have anywhere to go either. Bogus resigns, which is very early. Could have tried something like knight f6, bishop e7, knight e7, when my knight is still in trouble. There should be a way for me to be better, but too early to resign. Thanks for the game, Mr. Aurelius. Let's play against Epinikion. You know what? I still haven't learned my lesson. More e4s. The problem is you guys aren't going to learn that much if I keep playing e4. I'm cluelessly stumbling through the opening. So maybe I should go back to some queen's pawn stuff I'm more familiar with. Let's see what Epinikion does. Maybe Epinikion is not even here. Where you at, Epi? Nah. Start the countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Abort. Sorry, Epinikion. Goldfinger 772 asks how to play a game. Challenge me. Hover over my little name icon and then you appear on the list of challengers. I always have a lot of challengers, so I won't be able to play everybody, but we're trying to get in quite a bit of action against our beloved premium members here on Chess24. Let's play another strong opponent, Mr. 2000. Not 2001, just 2000. Let's see what he's up to. 2350. d4, I shall develop the knight. He goes e3, not the most ambitious move known to man. Looks like he wants to play a reverse stonewall. And you can't blame him for it, but it's not a very challenging opening, so I'll just get my pieces out and enjoy myself. Not sure how much I'm enjoying myself, but I'm not that worried either. Thing is, I can fight for the e5 square well, he can really fight. Well, he can fight for the e4 square, but he can't control it with pawns. Now he had to go knight g4, which looks a little clumsy. So I believe I did get a pretty good position out of the opening. It's a 3-minute game, so I'm going to have to speed up a little more than usual. Knight f2, what's going on here? Let me take that. Then take this. And yeah, the opening has gone well for me. After ed, I can take this. Well, if he has to go cd, I'll be first to do things on the c file, which should be a little unpleasant for white. Not the end of the world, never is, but it's a little unpleasant. g4, that might look active, but I have a feeling it's just gonna add to his list of problems because, well, I'm better developed. There's bishop c2 in the air, knight d3, knight c2. Yeah, just doesn't look good for white, does it? I'll go here. Still a bit of a mess, I'm guessing. He's looking at some f5s, but I have a very hard time believing this works for white. f5 I'll just take, and if fg, queen takes c1, so he probably has to go rook b1, then knight takes e3, then f5 I believe I can take. Yeah, this is what I was talking about. Now here's the problem that his bishop on c1 is under attack. So that's pretty bad news for 2000. Goes rook f1, but for now I'm a rook up. Therefore I'm confident. He's going to go g5 and go for some desperate attack, but it should not work. Really shouldn't. Don't we both know that, 2000? This cannot possibly work, my friend. Many ways to handle it. I think I'll just put a bishop on f6 to stop any worries about my g7 pawn and enjoy my extra rook. You can have the d5 pawn. All yours. Yeah, anything wins, so I should decide on something. I guess to keep us entertained, it would be kind of fun if I took on c1, but I'm not the type to part with my queen unless I really have to. So it might be time to bring the knight back from exile. 2000 doesn't really seem to be all that bothered by the lack of a rook that his position suffers from. Who can blame him? Still, they are pretty good pieces, those rooks. Long range. How do I do this? Probably boringly. I'm actually starting to mess around a little too much. I'll keep messing around, just for funsies. This was not really the best way to play, but it was a fun line. He should have gone queen g2 instead of rook g2 when I have a winning endgame, but wasn't really needed. But I saw I could checkmate him, so I got very excited. Yeah, not the best conversion, but 2000 got into some serious trouble very early on. What time is it? 8:15. Let's play, let's say, 2 more games. Let's crush the Bauernwalze. This means, what's the English? How would you translate Bauernwalze? Pawn steamroller? Pawn wall? I don't know. I'll go c4. Everybody in the candidates has been playing c4. Those guys are very strong players, so they must know something. Well, I think they just don't know what to do against the Berlin or against the Grunfeld. That's why they go c4. But certainly been gaining a lot in popularity. And this move order 3e4, this is one of the reasons why they do this, because if you play d4 after bishop b4, you get the Nimzo Indian, but e4, c5, d5 is the main line, but c5 is also well known. leads to a very unique position, which is kind of interesting to play. d6 I'm not very familiar with. Knight c6 is the main move when you sacrifice a pawn with d4. d6 looks solid, can't really fault it, but I just don't know it. Looks like Bauernwalzer does though. Bauernwalzer is booked up here. No clue what to do. Play some moves. Hope not to lose too much material too early on. If knight f6, I want knight takes c6. Zwischenzug, which I haven't really thought through. Still blitzing. Is all of this some freak theory, Bauernwalzer? What are you doing? You can take on f7, if I'm not mistaken. Giving up this knight before it loses his life. And now, Bauernwalzer, now you've overdone it with the counter desperados. Because I'll take your rook, and you can't take my rook. So the idea was good, but knight takes a2 was a little too much. And yeah, Bauernwalzer sees what he's done. He's saying oops in the chat and resigns. Sorry, Bauernwalzer. There was a quick one. Who's next? Let's play Max Chess 24. Worked the Max and the Chess 24 into his username. So maybe his name is just Max and he likes Chess 24, or it's, if he's on some other site, it's like Max YouTube is his YouTube username. Or it's something else. It's like when Homer Simpson changed his name to Max Power. He just wants a powerful name. Anyway, we appreciate it. Max Chess 24 goes for the Dutch. And I've played Bishop g5, which is a line I used to play a lot in my youth. It's quite a tricky line. It's unfortunately not as good as some of the other lines. But it's sort of fun, because here you go e4, and you're threatening queen h5 checkmate. And who knows, they might fall for it. Gh4, queen h5. And that would be the end. Of course, that's not the right way to play. There's a lot of moves here. Bishop g7, bishop g3, f4 is one line. Knight f6, I believe, is the best way to play. When white goes e5, and black has a surprising move, e6. Let's see how Max Chess 24 deals with it. Goes g4, which can't be the answer. Sorry for all the messing around. But yeah, after g4, my bishop is no longer en prise, and I can just take here, which looks pretty grim for black. And yeah, some complaints on the chat. I try to choose as randomly as I can. But yeah, I'm sorry. Normally, I don't get to play everybody as much as I would like to. Knight c6, I would very much like to checkmate Max Chess 24 though. And I believe I have good chances because his king is going to have to go for a little walk. Yeah, this is a pretty grim situation for Max. And he's saying in the chat, I caught him off guard, he was super busy, and then the game started. Sorry. But it ain't over yet. You can take the pawn on d4. I would develop with tempo, long castles. And that's normally, yeah, Max shouldn't make it out of here with his king uncheckmated. Even though, knowing me, I'll probably find a way to like get to an endgame, a pawn up from here or something like that. We'll see. Knight takes d4 frankly looks too risky, and black should, I don't know what he should do, maybe d5, queen d6, king d8, something like that. It all looks pretty bad. Goldfinger 772, he's a fan of my humor. What humor? No, thanks. And Max Chess 24 resigns, a bit early to resign, even though yeah, his position wasn't very pretty. Since the last two games were kind of quick, I have time for another one. Let's see, whom do we take? Chess Warrior from Namibia. Wow, that is far away because of my lack of knowledge of anything. I don't even know where in Africa Namibia is, but great to see we have members over there as well. Let's see what Chess Warrior is up to. Or if he's here. There he is. He goes d4. What have I been playing today? My usual nonsense. Let's go d5. Normally I prefer the move order with knight f6, e6, but I've played a lot of d5 throughout my career as well. I've even played this line more than once, believe it or not, the Chigorin, which is not such a bad line. It leads to open piece play. I don't believe it's fully sound theoretically, but it's playable, and it's a decent way to play for a win sometimes, because you get a more unbalanced position than you get with a Slav or with 2 e6. The problem is it's not that great. If white goes knight c3 here, or even e3, then he does have decent hopes to be slightly better. To e3, I don't know what theory indicates. I guess just e6. I would like to go e5. I'm not sure I can get it to work. Looks more fun though. Let's play e5, see what happens. e6 will be normal when white just develops, and it's probably slightly better. But e5 looked a little more active. Goes bishop e2. With white, yeah, you can take these liberties and you're still not in trouble, but now I should sort of be alright. Not sure what to do. Probably take here. If knight takes d4, then bishop e2, queen e2, and the easiest to just play knight takes d4. When e takes d4 would be check, so that might catch me off guard, but since I've already seen it, it won't catch me off guard, therefore I'm not that scared of it. Great reasoning, I'm sure. He goes knight takes e2, when, yeah, I'm too greedy to think of any other move than d takes c4 here. Queen c2, but no. There's some tempting routes. Queen d3 is also very tempting. Maybe queen d3 is better. No, let's go for this. If queen c4, knight d3 check, and at least he has to go king f1, where the king is a little exposed. You can also go queen e4 check, but it shouldn't change the situation that much. I'll just go bishop e7 and then try to develop my knight. Chess Warrior tells me to visit Namibia. I'd love to. I've never been to Africa, which is especially sad since I used to live in Gibraltar and I could see Morocco from my balcony, which, okay. I've never even made it over there, so it is time. Queen c4 on the board, knight d3 check. He has to go king f1, and then I guess I should just develop a piece for a change. Go knight f6. White can, if he's excessively greedy, think about queen b5 and queen takes b7, but that should just not work. h3 is sensible, probably trying to find a way out for the king. The problem is, it's still a long way from h2. I'll just keep developing. I'm sure there's some more direct options here as well, but this looks good enough to me. Just getting the pieces out and enjoying the fact that the king can no longer castle. Yeah, it's a very tough position to play with white. b3, because yeah, if he went bishop d2, I would take on b2. Now, what do I want to do? I kind of want to chase this queen away. I'm not sure if with a6, b5 or with c6, b5, but it feels like I should push it off this spot on c4, where it's still holding the position together. Bishop d2, don't I still... Oh, no, I don't have this knight b2 trick anymore because of queen d4. If I go b5, he's also going to go queen d4. I'm still better, but I think I should have time to take this queen d4 out of the equation by going c5 first. Now I want to go b5 without the queen coming here. And I'm also threatening knight e5 or knight b2, picking up this bishop. Or at least I hope I am. We'll see, but it looks like a very hard position to play with white. Goes knight e4 when, let me think, I should somehow be able to pick up material. Not sure about the best way to do it. Knight b2, knight f6, bishop f6, queen c2, nah. Knight e5, knight f6, bishop f6, also not winning material yet. But I like material. Give me some material. Maybe this is the way. Yeah, this looks pretty annoying because if knight f6, bishop f6, the rook on a1 is on prise. Well, the queen can't stay connected to this knight on e4. Therefore, this was overloading the white defenses. And now, yeah, I'm winning a whole rook on a1 because it's a double attack. Did I miss some trick earlier? Sounds like I missed some trick. Yeah, it was a very good position. I'm sure there could have been something, but I quite liked my position, so I didn't feel it was necessary. We'll look into it in a minute. Queen e4, I could throw in rook e8 just for good luck. But if you can take a rook or attack the queen, take the rook first. That rule doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I was trying to quote this famous rule. If you can take a rook or checkmate, take the rook, because it might not be checkmate after all. But yeah, I think my version of it really will not enter the chess anecdote books. However, my version of grabbing a lot of pieces is very instructive. The end is near for Chess Warrior, a friend from Namibia. Rook and a piece down is too much to overcome, even against me, especially against me. Like, the more material I'm up, the more confident I get. So yeah, is it time for my wrap-up speech already? I'm gonna go on holiday starting tomorrow. Mainly, of course, hard chess work preparing for the Thailand Open. Chess Warrior resigns. Good game, Chess Warrior. Sorry for all this taking of pieces. That's the games for today. I believe I won all of them, but I was in big trouble in at least one where I was just dead lost for a moment. So some exciting games. I'm off for like 2 weeks, where you can follow me in the Thailand Open, where our friend Paco Vallejo is also playing. A lot of other very strong players. Ganguly, Luke van Vele, Benjamin Bock, Nigel Short. So it's going to be a tough tournament. Always looking forward to that one. Else, yeah, I hope you enjoyed the candidates. A lot of exciting actions. Congratulations to Sergei Karyakin, the new challenger of Magnus Carlsen. I'll be back in Chess 24 duty on April 18th, when I'm gonna be commentating on the Norway Chess Super Tournament together with Peter Svidler. So I'm very much looking forward to that one. A lot of guys playing in that tournament: Magnus Carlsen, Vladimir Kramnik, Veselin Topalov, Anish Giri, Maxim Vachier-Lagrave, and so on and so forth. So it's a very proper super tournament. Sergei Karyakin is also in it. So the first meeting of Karyakin and Carlsen. Gonna be fun. That's starting April 18th. I'm sure you're gonna miss me in all this time away, but there's lots of video series and banter blitzes and all the good stuff that you can watch even in my absence, and the other guys will keep entertaining you as well. Thanks a lot for watching this show. Go premium if you haven't already. People are telling me, no, they're mainly telling Artur, rightly so, that the new video series on prophylactic thinking with Artur is very good. We have a little bonus series on the play of Levan Aronian, which should be released today, if it isn't already. No, Robin won't do Banter Blitz. Robin is leaving tomorrow as well. Robin has been recording a video series on the Sicilian with White, which I have to watch given my play today. And I believe it's very good. I have a lot of faith in Robin's opening stuff. So we're going to release the first part of that one as soon as it's through post-production. Looking forward to it. Yeah, that's all the plugging I can do in the time I've given myself. Thank you guys a lot for watching. Enjoy whatever it is that you're doing after this. Bye-bye. Hear me anymore. Now you could hear me, but this is like a Marvel movie where I pretend I'm leaving and then there's a post credits scene. Nah, I got nothing. It's like one of these disappointing Easter eggs like in Deadpool. Good night, boys and girls.